So has he signed up for Benjamin Netanyahu in the driving seat and Donald Trump doing the backseat driving? Is that something Donald Trump would be comfortable with? Because Benjamin Netanyahu is the one who's driving for regime change. He's the one who's speaking about it, that Khamenei's got to go. And the United States is simply, some would say, acquiescing to what Netanyahu is doing. Netanyahu drives the agenda, whether it's in Gaza, whether it's in Lebanon or now in Iran, and wants war as an instrument of peace.
I think that's right. I think Netanyahu is very much in the driver's seat. In his defense, he's seeing this as a long-term investment in the preservation of Israeli security. It's hard to debate that point, but he has borne enormous costs in terms of the price he's willing to pay to make this happen. Now, the United States will inevitably be a beneficiary of this outcome if he is successful. There's no doubt about that too. But whether we are now going to jump in with both feet to help him finish the job, I think that still remains an open question. And if the president is to be taken at his word, we will have an answer 2 weeks out from now.
But it could also, on the flip side, arouse anti-Americanism once again in many of these in the Arab world, not just in Iran. It could lead to an entire generation, perhaps, of Iranians and others who perhaps end up again sort of chanting debt to America or debt to Israel. The fear, of course, is that if this doesn't work out quite the way Trump and Netanyahu want it to happen, Iran is not Hezbollah, Iran is not Hamas, it's a sovereign large nation. Is that the risk, the calculation that Donald Trump is likely to make before he takes that final decision?
I mean, I think there are two elements to the question that you've asked. First, what is the response to the United States and to Israel on the Arab street? And what is the response to the United States and Israel within Arab regimes? I think it is the latter calculation that weighs more heavily on Donald Trump's mind rather than the former. In other words, as long as friendly Arab regimes are comfortable with the idea that the elimination of Iran's nuclear capability is beneficial to them all, that makes the choices in some sense more tractable for Trump. I don't think the sentiment on the street is going to affect him too much because there has always been a pervasive suspicion of US and Israeli objectives on the Arab street anyway. This is not fundamentally going to change that outcome.
So in your view, is Trump going to go in or stay out for the next 2 weeks and watch what happens?
I honestly don't know the answer to that. I do not think he knows the answer to that either.
Okay, let's then come to another element where Donald Trump is sort of showing the world that you never know what Donald Trump does next. Just a few days ago, he hosted the Pakistani Army Chief, Field Marshal Asim Munir, had a phone call with Prime Minister Modi and appeared in his own way once again to want to take credit for a ceasefire between India and Pakistan after Operation Sindoor. What is Trump trying to do? Is he hyphenating India and Pakistan? Is he playing a double game? Is he using Pakistan as an tactical ally, shares a long border with Iran, and at the same time wants a trade deal with the large market of India? Is this Trump acting in the interest of Trump above all else?
I think we have to be careful about overthinking this, right? I don't think there is a grand strategy underlying all these developments. I think what you see in all of this is classic Trump, always the impresario, always wanting to be at the center stage, and always wanting to make himself the driver of the news. And so at every level in this evolution, he has inserted himself as really the most important personality. It's in keeping with his persona and his style. So I don't think there is a grand strategy which is designed to think of, Pakistan as a tactical buttress, as a way of, leveraging Pakistan to get some things out of India. I think that is a lot of rationalization because people like you and me, we want to sort of impose order on what is a very chaotic reality. And so we are forced to contemplate hypotheses of this kind. I think for Trump, it's all about performance. And he has used these opportunities to once again deliver a performance.
But this performative diplomacy, from an Indian point of view, from the pure optical point of view, are you saying, therefore, we should just ignore what Donald Trump does with Pakistan? Here is a country which 2 months ago, we believe here in India was widely responsible for what happened in Pahalgam. They've sponsored the Lashkar, they've sponsored the Jaish, and yet just 2 months later, Donald Trump's having lunch or inviting the Pakistan Army chief for lunch at White House. Should we just be ignoring what Donald Trump does and simply deal directly with Donald Trump in what is in India's self-interest, i.e. possibly a trade deal early next month?
I think that is probably the best way out. Now, obviously, I can't tell the government of India what to do, but you've got to keep your eye, in my judgment, on the long game, right? And the long game is that the US India partnership is critical for so many reasons. And we should look for ways of overcoming what are the near term and immediate obstacles. At the end of the day, Trump today is a one-term president. We will have to deal with the histrionics that he brings to bear for the next 3 years. But we should do our damnedest to avoid being caught up and trapped by the histrionics. We have long-term interests, so deal with Mr. Trump on his own terms. Protect your equities as we will protect ours. And I think if we both adopt the strategic view, we will actually come out okay.
In that sense, are you saying that America, Capitol Hill, looks at India very differently to Pakistan? India is seen as the emerging fourth largest economy in the world. It's seen as a country with a stable democracy. Pakistan is seen at the end of the day of having a puppet civilian leadership run really by the army. Therefore, the relationship that the US will have with Pakistan will remain very different to that from India. It is dehyphenated.
That is absolutely true. And that is a view not simply on Capitol Hill, it's actually a view inside the US government as well. And it's a view in American society writ large. Pakistan is a problem to be managed. India is an opportunity to be seized. That's the fundamental difference. And whether we get success at the end of the day is how cleverly we manage this fundamental dichotomy. So my advice to my Indian friends would still remain the same, which is think about the opportunities, focus on the things that unite us and what matter, and don't get distracted, by these episodic, elements of theater that will intrude.
But there are those who say that India sort of self-proclaims itself now as a Vishwa Guru. In the world order that we have at the moment, there seem to be no Vishwa Gurus. It seems a totally amoral world. I'm not using immoral, but amoral world. No permanent friends or enemies, just permanent interests. In such a world, do we go down the path of being a Vishwa Guru or simply strike our own strategic deal, just as Donald Trump is doing with countries across the world?
Well, I've never quite understood what being a Vishwa Guru actually means. I mean, I understand it as an aspiration. I understand it as an authentic reflection of
Providing a moral
Indians.
compass, I guess. Providing a moral compass to the world.
Well, that's always going to be a challenge, right? I mean, we don't live in a moral world of international politics. So there's always going to be a juggling act between how you manage power on one hand and how you manage ethics on the other. And at the end of the day, power is always going to trump. And so you have to be careful about how much purchase you think your ethical sort of compass is going to have.